Get ready to cozy up with your favorite drink because I have an exciting update on Disney Lorcana. From the latest news to new developments, this video will cover everything you need to know. So sit back, relax, and don't miss out on the fun. Alright, so first on the list is White Rabbit's Pocket Watch. Disney Lorcana revealed this on Instagram on the 2nd of March. On the card, you see the pocket watch. It's amethyst ink, and it's an item, and it costs 3. Its ability is called I'm Late, where you exert, that's what we're calling tapping, and pay 1, and the chosen character gains Rush this turn. They can challenge the turn they're played. So this kind of confirms that we have Summoning Sickness, but it also means that we have an equivalent to Haste. An ability in Magic where a character can actually challenge or use its effects on the same turn that they're brought into the battlefield. All right, so next up on the list is Scar Mastermind. It's a blue, a sapphire. It costs 6 for a 5/4. Now I'm calling the symbol on the left attack and the symbol on the right defense, or power and toughness like magic. We don't really have any terms for them yet, but it's a 5/4 Storyborn villain, and it has an ability called Insidious Plot. When you play this character, chosen opposing character gets -5 attack or power this turn. I think that's really interesting because it works similar to... I'm wondering, actually, if it works similar to Magic, where if your defense or your toughness or whatever falls to 0, you're destroyed or banished. In this case, we're reducing attack or power, but it's just interesting that these mechanics are in this game. Alright, so third on the list, we have Healing Glow. It's an amber, it costs 1, it has the swirl, so still not very clear on what the difference between the swirl and no swirl on the hexagon is. But I'm sure we'll get into that. It is an action, and for 1, you remove up to 2 damage from a chosen character. This is pretty big, actually, because it confirms 2 things. First, we'll have persistent damage. Maybe in the form of markers, something like Pokemon uses, or it could simply be persistent damage throughout one cycle of a turn. That part's not clear yet, but it is pretty economical at this level because it costs 1 and it removes 2. What that means for the economy of the game, I'm not sure yet, but it is a very interesting card because it does confirm that characters have health, or damage markers can be given. All right, fourth on the list, we have Magic Mirror. This one is another amethyst, but it's very interesting. As an item, it costs 2, but its hexagon has no swirl. This may mean that it is a card that can be used as payment, so you can use it to pay for the casting cost of other cards. But it does have an ability. It is permanent because it's got a tap ability called Speak. So you tap it or exert it, as they're calling it here. You pay 4 and draw a card. All right, next up on the list, we've got the Wardrobe, Belle's Confidant. It is a 3/4 for 3, and it is in a swirl, so still not clear on what that means, but it's swirled, and it is a Dreamborn ally. Its ink color is amethyst, and that is really all we know about it. It's interesting to note, however, that this card either has something removed or is being printed without the item border. The border that we see with other cards similar. So we've got White Rabbit's Pocket Watch has a gold border around the image, whereas Healing Glow does not. Now, both of these cards have the swirl on the number. White Rabbit's Pocket Watch is an item, Healing Glow is an action, but the only other item that we have is Magic Mirror. And Magic Mirror does have the border. So perhaps allies and actions are classed in the same, or have a reason for both of them to not have a border, whereas items have a border. Now, next up would be products, but I wanted to talk about two things. We do have the feature cards for two of the decks that are being put out. We have Hades, King of Olympus. It's a 6/7 for 8, no swirl around the hexagon, no swirl, and there is no border. Uh, it's an amber ink, and he's a Floodborn villain king deity. Its ability is Shift 6, meaning that you may pay 6 to play this on top of one of your characters named Hades. This is interesting as well because we've got card stacking going on. And its named ability is Sinister Plot. Now, this is cut off in the images, but it says this character gets, it's got a number, I'm unsure what number it is, each other villain character. So if I had to guess, I'd say it probably means that he gets one additional maybe power or attack or whatever we're calling that for each additional villain character. So we've probably got splits between villain decks and hero decks or mixes. So it's a bit of a pump is what I'm reading from this. All right, and the other product card is Mulan Imperial Soldier. Now, this is the feature card for the Mulan deck. It is 4/5 for 5 in a swirl. Interesting to note, it is in a swirl, and it has ruby ink. She is a Storyborn hero princess, which we probably could figure out. And her ability is Lead by Example. During your turn, whenever this character banishes another character, and then is broken off, so it could be that another character, there might be limits on how many characters can challenge during a turn. So it feels like this one means that if Mulan challenges and banishes a character, another one of your characters, or maybe all of your characters, can also challenge this turn. All right, let's get into the products. Now, we have a couple products that are announced. There may be more coming. First and foremost, we have booster packs. This, I think, is a staple for anyone into trading card games of any kind. These booster packs will be 12 cards each. That's interesting because it's more than the smallest Flesh and Blood pack, but it's less than the average, or it's the same as the smaller Magic the Gathering packs. Next product is the booster boxes, which will be 24 booster packs each. That's another kind of a downsized pack or box size compared to other games, but it's also a little bit higher than other games as well. So I'd say it's sitting right in the middle. Next up, we have starter decks. We have an Amber Amethyst mixed deck for Moana and Mickey, an Emerald/Ruby. So we've got an Emerald Ruby mix with Cruella de Vil and Aladdin. That's interesting. We have a Sapphire Steel deck with Aurora and Simba. And each deck will include one 60-card deck, a booster pack to kind of, I guess, backfill or give you some flexibility and options. Next up, we have the Illumineer's Trove, which is roughly equivalent to a Magic the Gathering Fat Pack or bundle, or a Pokemon Elite Trainer box. It'll have 8 booster packs, 2 deck boxes, and a player handbook. We'll also be seeing a gift set, which will be the Mulan and Hades box. It'll include 2 promo cards, which I'm assuming are Mulan and Hades, 4 booster packs, but there will also be jumbo-size promos. How many? I'm not sure this time. Probably 1 or potentially 2, but I think it's probably going to be 1 based around the approach that Pokemon has been taking. And it'll also have 2 tracker tokens. These tracker tokens don't really have any explained purpose yet. I'm assuming that the tracker tokens are for tracking health. Or perhaps damage. That's my assumption. We'll see what happens. So, moving into the launch year, we have some expectations that have been set. We're told to expect at least 4 sets per year. as part of an ongoing story. Similar to how Magic does its kind of flowing storyline, feels like Lorcana is going to be doing the same thing. We'll still only be focusing on traditional Disney characters, with no word about inclusion of Pixar or Lucasfilm yet. I suspect they will have a rotating story schedule, so they'll run through whatever their story is now, be it 4 sets or 8 sets, or maybe it's they're gonna run concurrent storylines. I expect the first year is probably just gonna be their base storyline, if they're going to branch off into side stories. But I personally am a huge fan of Star Wars, and I'm really looking forward to Lucasfilm being added to this world. Pixar, of course, too, but Lucasfilm is kind of my go-to for that. All right, so let's get into some explanation of keyword mechanics. For those of you who are familiar with Magic, there are a lot of keyword mechanics in Magic. Pokemon uses some as well, but for the most part, I think Magic is kind of the leader in this aspect. So in Lorcana, we have a few that are confirmed so far. We've got Challenge, which is Lorcana's word for combat whenever 2 characters duke it out. We've got Challenger, which is an ability that alters a Glimmer's stats whenever it challenges another character or is challenged. Similar to in Magic, where some creatures have their power and toughness reversed when attacking, or they get counters, or they get +1/+1 when attacking or defending, stuff like that. Next is Evasive. In Lorcana, only Glimmers with Evasive can challenge other characters with Evasive. So it's similar to Flying. I assume later, or maybe in side sets, there will be other keywords which will allow characters to challenge Evasive, or perhaps block Evasive, step in and assist. Next up, we have Shift. In this game, Shift means to pay an alternate cost to play a character on top of another character. It's similar to Morph or Merge in Magic, where you pay a cost and then the character or the creature either combines with another card, or and this was seen in the Brothers War set, or changes its base stats and type based on whatever its explainer text actually says. Next is Exert. Exert is something we've kind of touched on already. It is Lorcana's version of Tap. Tapping is Magic, or I think other games also use Exert. Banished is the next term, and that's just what happens when a character is sent to the graveyard or the discard pile. Ward means that a character with Ward can't be targeted by an opponent, like for action cards or Glimmer abilities. And what this means is it's similar to Ward in Magic. We don't have any word yet on whether Ward will have a cost to it. Magic has a cost to it where the opponent, the attacking player, can pay a cost in mana, or sometimes it's other things like discarding a card in order to target that creature. So let's talk a little bit about the difference between action cards, character cards, and item cards. It feels like characters are split into kind of 3 major categories. We've got heroes, allies, and villains. We've also got a few like Jumba Jukuba, Renegade Scientist. He's a Dreamborn alien inventor. He doesn't really fall into any of those 3. They might be setting up similar to Magic, where characters are classed as, you're a merfolk, or you're a goblin. Could be a racial thing. But like I pointed out before, action cards and item cards don't have the same border. Action cards and character cards have no border around the image, the art, whereas item cards seem to have a border around. There's also a seemingly a difference between the cost emblem. Some cards have a cost with a swirl around the hexagon. Other cards have a cost with no swirl. Unsure what that means yet. I suspect that means certain cards can be used to pay the casting cost of other cards. Now, this one is kind of my big thing. Not because I'm any sort of competitive player. I'm really low level, but I really like that organized play has this ability to draw people in and create communities. So, organized play, yes. Ravensburger says organized play will be supported, and my assumption is that with this being a Disney project, I think it's pretty safe to say they'll have deep pockets with regards to pricing and incentives and store support for establishing organized play on a local game store level. So one more thing I wanted to point out, I think I mentioned it in the previous one, but I'd just like to reiterate because this is kind of a sticking point for me. Ravensburger have said that they won't be making unique promotional cards. What that means is, unlike Magic, where sometimes a card can only be acquired by winning a tournament, that won't be happening in Lorcana. Flesh and Blood have taken the same tact. Legend Story Studios have said that they will not be making cards that will not be available in core sets. The foil treatments or whatever sort of special treatment they're doing will be promotional. There will be promotional versions of that. So I assume that those cards will have special promotional treatments for prizing as well, similar to Flesh and Blood. But it does mean that staple cards will remain accessible to any player at any level. You don't have to have thousands of dollars to buy your deck in order to build a deck to play competitively. And I think that's fantastic. Thanks for tuning in to our Disney Lorcana update. With all the recent spoilers, we're getting a clearer picture of what this game will be like. Don't miss out on future updates. Hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring the bell to stay notified. And as always, remember to stay cozy.